Hi, welcome back to another edition of Max and Nicky 1000th Time Reactions,
where we react to a song after listening to it for our 1000th time.
We release 3 videos a day,
Every day.
so make sure to hit that subscribe button
And ding that post notification bell.
so you don't miss out on all our content.
That's right.
What are we going to listen to right now, Max?
We're going to listen to Girls and Boys by Blur. Now, I must confess I have not listened to this. I've listened to it a few times, but I have not listened to it nearly 1,000 times.
I've listened to this song quite a bit,
Nicky's
actually.
listened to it quite a bit.
This is my favorite Blur song, actually. So
But would you say you've gotten to 1,000 plays of this?
I've listened to it a lot. I mean, 1,000, I don't know, maybe. For all intents and purposes, we'll call it our 1,000th thing.
Sure, because, we want to talk about this band. It's a good band.
If you're new to the channel, what we like to do here is listen to the song all the way through without stopping so we don't interrupt the intention of the artist. And then afterward, we'll talk about a reaction, go into some in-depth analysis, and maybe talk a little bit about the history of the song and the band.
If we should know anything about them. We also like to mention that we have another YouTube channel called Max and Nicky, on which we perform oldies tunes, jazz standards, and some originals in that vein. Mm-hmm. And we got comedy videos on there as well. Mm-hmm. But for right now, let's take a listen to Girls and Boys by Blur.
For our 1,000th time.
1,000th time.
boys who like boys who
Girls and Boys
by Blur.
Blur.
You know, I think of all the Britpop bands, I think Blur's my favorite one.
Well, they became. Well, I would say they're. Well, never mind. Actually,
I like them certainly more than Oasis. You know.
Sure. Well, they sound 80s actually.
Well,
the only difference
this
I would
song-
say
this song.
Well, yes, this song sounds 80s. I mean, this song, first of all, it has this disco kind of bass that reminds me of Duran Duran actually. And also, it kind of sounds like a little bit like The Clash too actually.
Sure, it's kind of
like
a melding
Rock
of
the Casbah kind of a thing.
kind
or
of
something
melding
like that.
of like punk rock and funk
and well, new. That's kind of how I feel like Duran Duran was actually in a way, new wave.
Sure, I would say Duran Duran's a little bit more, for lack of a better term, polished. You know,
I don't agree with that. This sounds very polished.
no, do you know what I mean? I would say Duran Duran, their
mean
musicianship is a little bit more slick and skilled. Actually,
I don't agree with that actually.
it's totally true. I mean, gosh, just. Look, there's something about the song that is 90s. It's very 90s, actually, you know?
Well, I was going to say what sets it apart is the production quality.
Sure, exactly.
I mean, it's not just the production quality, it's the production style too is a little bit different, and
it's not as big. That's what I meant by it. Duran Duran's sound is bigger because they're the 80s band, and the production sounds bigger.
Yeah, this sounds more close up.
The drums, for example,
Although
on this
I would
close,
argue this sounds like earlier Duran Duran, actually. Like
Girls on Film.
Girls on Film or something like that.
Yes, I don't agree with that. There's something about this song that does sound. It sounds
I'm not saying that. No, it certainly sounds more 90s. I mean, you could hear it in the very beginning. There's something more playful about it in a way. It almost sounds like cartoon sounds in the beginning.
Well, but you got this. What is this sound? I guess it's a synthesizer.
Oh yeah, that too. Well, I was wondering what that was. I think what it might be is an electric guitar that's filtered a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is.
It's an interesting melding.
Oh, can I just mention another sound effect that I thought was really cool? Was this distorted guitar in the left ear that keeps coming down? It sounds like an airplane, that's landing.
But in general, the distorted guitar in the left ear kind of makes it more 90s in a way. It kind of has that. I don't want to say grunge rock influence, but there's something, even Radiohead at the time kind of had that thing going where they had these kind of more rockin' guitars.
Yeah, sure. No, definitely. I would say distorted guitar kind of a thing. That's definitely more of a, yeah, I guess that's another reason it sets it apart. Yeah, again, it's the production that sounds different. But it is definitely a dancey song.
Well, it's quintessential Britpop,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that, when you had grunge kind of really becoming the popular form of rock music in America, you had Britpop that was gaining steam in England, and they were decidedly different than grunge. They purposely almost they wanted to have their own thing,
Right. Well, it's interesting you mentioned Radiohead because they were not part of the Britpop scene.
Right, except it's weird. I don't even know. I'm not even sure what makes a band Britpop because this Blur sounds very different from Oasis, which sounds very different from Suede, which sounds very different.
Well, I think it had something to do with maybe where these guys came from. Maybe
not really. Oasis came from Northern England. Blur, I think, came from Southern England. That was not London.
That's the reason. That was part of the feud, I think.
Well, there was a feud definitely.
It was definitely
Oasis encouraged by the media.
Yeah,
but
which they played into, but I don't think
there was a definite at the time. There was a definite disdain between, Damien Albarn and the Gallagher brothers. Since then, though, actually Noel Gallagher and Damien, is it Damien or Damon?
Oh, I think it's Damon Albarn.
Damon Albarn.
Or Albarn.
Albarn.
But
yeah.
Obviously, or is it Albarns?
I think it's Albarn.
Well, anyway.
They have worked together in the past decade now, although,
and now Noel Gallagher and
Liam Gallagher don't talk to each other. But, it's interesting. Obviously, why don't you look it up real quick? I think it's...
Well, I can just probably see right here. It is... Yes, it's Damon Albarn.
Damon Albarn. Yeah, sorry about that.
If I'm
Damon
pronouncing
Albarn,
that
obviously, he went on to further success by creating the band Gorillaz, which is, sorry, saying
You don't have to apologize.
which definitely sort of his sound evolved into the 2000s, and I would say Gorillaz kind of influenced the sound of what would become indie music of the 2000s and even 2010s.
Well, I mean,
Sort of.
I mean, indie music, spans a great deal of music.
Sure.
I mean, particularly in the 2000s, I would say there was a lot of early to mid 2000s. Indie music was very much had
A garage rock feel.
Well, there was the garage rock, but there was also this kind of folk.
Well, there was a whole lot going on.
There was a whole lot going on. I mean, Indian music always has a lot going on.
This song is really cool. We were almost going to do Charmless Man, which I really like a lot. This is off of what I think the Park Life album.
Well, I think it would have been cool to do Charmless Man because
it's
clearly a play on
Man,
This Charming Man by the Smiths.
Which we just did a 1,000 time reaction to yesterday.
Right. Before. Anyway, this is a great song. Was there more about the song you wanted to mention itself?
Well, the lyrics are interesting too. I mean, they're saying girls who like boys who was it? Girls who like boys who
like boys.
Who like boys.
No, I don't know.
Who are girls who dig boys who dig girl. It's a weird, or not weird, but it's a kind of a play on almost like cross-dressing or something like that.
I would think girls who like boys who like boys. I mean, if that's the lyric? Maybe it's about girls that are into guys that happen to be gay, maybe, or something.
Something. I think they're
or I don't know if I'm hearing that lyric correctly.
He's sort of messing with at the time in the 90s, the societal norms of what were, how people viewed romance should be, I guess, in the 90s, and he was kind of turning that on its head in a way.
Oh, I guess.
I think that's the intention behind the lyrics. If you know kind of the meaning of the lyrics, why don't you write that down in the comments? Let us know what your interpretation of the lyrics are.
I mean, it's kind of interesting about
I think it's saying always should be someone you really love. I think it's saying
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if they're a girl or a guy, or if they're a girl or a boy, or if they're a boy who digs boys that you're in love with. As long as it's someone you really love, that's what matters. I think maybe that's what he's saying.
Right. Well, it's interesting about the 90s. You watch shows from that time, and it claimed to have this
like Beverly Hills
openness and acceptance of all different walks of sexuality, and yet, boy, looking back on it now, if you watch an episode of Melrose Place, they would never show. Was it Matt? Was that the name of the gay character on Melrose Place? They would show the steamy romances between all the characters and really scantily clad women, and they're making out and everything like that. They would never. Anytime they got close to Matt kissing a guy, they would cut away. It was so strange.
What's his name? Doug Savant or something?
Yeah, something like that.
He's married to...
Laura... who played
Sydney's sister. She played Sydney's sister.
Sydney's sister. Oh, goodness gracious, I forgot. Anyway, they would cut away. It's so strange to see. It was like... almost like they had to cut away. There was no intention for the cutaway, right. And then they would come back when the embrace was done. Right after it was done,
sure
it was like, what is
that
the
was
point?
something that it was on the Fox network, and it was something probably the creator Darren Star had to battle with them about.
Darren Star
was gay in real life. He went on to create shows like Sex and the City and lots of other.
He
shows.
co-created Beverly Hills 90210.
He did also, yeah.
It was just kind of a funny thing that in the 90s, people thought they were being very progressive, and maybe they were. I guess that's what progress is baby steps, right? I mean,
right.
It's not always baby steps. Sometimes you want to go forward further, but often it happens in baby steps.
Sure. So, well, that was quite a long tangent.
Sure.
But again, this song is great. We like Blur a lot. Obviously, they wouldn't achieve mainstream American success until their song, was it song number 2, is it called?
Oh, woohoo!
Yeah, that song, yeah.
Well, that was after Britpop. The Britpop era kind of was fading at that point.
Sure, and that song is a bit more rockin', actually.
And in fact, I was watching this documentary about just pop music in general, but they were covering Britpop, and there was this battle between Oasis and Blur that was happening, and to see who would come out on top. And then it seemed like Blur had moved on from that when they came out with that song.
Sort of Top of the Pops.
Quote unquote, woohoo is kind of the parenthetical name of the song. And they kind of were, and then Oasis didn't really come out with another hit after
Although
that
Oasis got huge in America before Blur ever did, you know?
Sure. But I'm just trying to say that it seemed like, and as you see with the Gorillaz, that Damon Albarn, I feel like he continued his success a little bit, I would say, longer than Oasis. I mean, though they're still all successful bands now, successful musicians now, but I guess just with that height of success.
As far as their influence over the mainstream goes. I think that'll do it for this reaction video. It is called song number 2, right? Song number something.
I forget.
God, I always forget what the number is.
Well, anyway.
But I think that'll do it for this reaction video. If you like what you heard and saw today, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ding that post notification bell to find out about more Max and Nicky reaction
Song
videos.
2. Yes, sorry.
To find out about more Max and Nicky reaction videos.
Please keep tuning in.